In a world filled with noise, confusion, and the constant rush for more wealth, more success, more recognition, there's a quiet revolution taking place in the hearts of many in the West. People are pausing. They're asking deeper questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What's the purpose behind all this? And in that search, something unexpected is happening. They're finding answers in Islam. Not through pressure, not through force, but through reflection, curiosity, and an undeniable pull toward truth. It's not about religion as a label, but a way of life that brings clarity, structure, peace. Just like Jim Rohn used to say, if you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree. And many are doing just that, changing direction, not overnight destination, but one step closer each day. Because in a world where everything feels temporary, Islam offers something timeless, something deeply rooted, something that calls not just to the mind, but to the soul. And when the soul hears truth, it recognizes it. Let's talk about why Islam is spreading rapidly in the West and why it's touching lives in ways no one expected. Jim Rohn used to say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And across the Western world today, more and more hearts are becoming ready for something deeper than the daily grind, ready for something more fulfilling than material gain. You see, success is beautiful, but what's the point of reaching the top if your soul is starving at the summit? People are realizing that fulfillment doesn't come from just career titles, likes on a screen, or bigger paychecks. Likes on a screen or bigger paychecks, it comes from meaning, from direction, from purpose. And that's where Islam enters the picture, not as a religion of rules, but as a blueprint for living a life of value, service, discipline, and connection with the Creator. In a world where everything changes so fast, people are craving something that doesn't. Islam offers that, a foundation that's solid, unshakable, rooted in divine wisdom. The 5 daily prayers, the fast of Ramadan, the generosity of zakat, these aren't rituals for show. They're powerful practices that shape the heart. They build the kind of discipline Jim Rohn always talked about, the kind that transforms lives. And when a soul tastes peace, true peace, it doesn't go back. That's why Islam is growing, because the search for meaning always leads back to truth. Jim Rohn often said, success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying basic fundamentals. That's exactly why Islam is resonating with so many in the West, because it is built on fundamentals. Clear, simple, powerful. The oneness of God, the purpose of life, accountability for our actions. There's no confusion, no contradiction. In a time when people are overwhelmed with endless options, shifting beliefs, and watered-down values, Islam stands firm, a beacon of consistency and clarity. And that's what's drawing people in. They're tired of uncertainty, tired of shallow slogans and temporary fixes. They want truth that doesn't bend, values that don't change with every trend. Islam's simplicity isn't weakness, it's strength. It's not about blind faith, it's about informed belief. It invites people to think, to reflect, to question, and then come to certainty. This message, so ancient yet so fresh, cuts through the noise of modern life. And like Jim Rohn taught us, when you return to the basics, when you stick to the fundamentals, that's when real transformation begins. And in Islam, not just for success in this life, but peace in the next. Jim Rohn once said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And that's exactly what Islam calls a person toward. Not escape, but elevation. Not shortcuts, but self-discipline. In a world that constantly promotes comfort and ease, Islam teaches something beautifully different. Growth through effort, character through consistency. The 5 daily prayers, they're not just rituals, they're reminders, anchors, opportunities to pause, to reset, to connect. Fasting during Ramadan, it's not deprivation, it's purification. It builds patience, willpower, empathy. Giving to the poor, It's not about charity points. It's about aligning your heart with purpose, with service. And these practices, they don't just change your schedule, they change you. That's why people in the West, even those with no religious background, are being drawn to Islam. Because they're tired of living life on autopilot. They want discipline. They want a higher standard. And Islam, just like Jim Rohn's philosophy, doesn't promise ease. It promises transformation through action, real growth, real accountability, and real reward. People aren't just joining a religion. They're stepping into a way of life that shapes them into who they were always meant to be. Stronger, sharper, wiser, closer to God. Jim Rohn said, "You cannot succeed by yourself. It's hard to find a rich hermit." Success, spiritual or worldly, is not meant to be a lonely road. That's why one of the most powerful reasons Islam is spreading in the West is the deep sense of community it builds. In a world that's more connected than ever, people are lonelier than ever. Social media gave us access, but not intimacy, gave us followers, but not family. And then people step into a mosque, they see strangers hugging like brothers, they hear the call to prayer echo, and people gather like a heartbeat. They sit for iftar during Ramadan, side by side with people they've never met, and yet feel like they've known forever. That belonging, that unity, it fills a gap no phone, no job, no luxury ever could. Islam doesn't just connect people to God, it connects hearts to each other. Black, white, rich, poor, all standing shoulder to shoulder, equal before their Creator. No ego, no division, just pure human connection through divine design. And in that moment, the soul remembers, this is what we were made for. Connection, purpose, brotherhood. That's not just religion. That's healing. That's why Islam is growing. Jim Rohn once said, "Life asks us to make measurable progress in reasonable time." That's the game of life. And when people look around in the West and see injustice, inequality, and confusion, they're beginning to ask deeper questions. Where is fairness? Where is truth? Where is a system that values all of humanity, not just the privileged few? And in that search, many are discovering Islam, a faith built on justice, on balance, on the belief that every human soul has worth, dignity, and responsibility. Islam doesn't just talk about equality. It lives it. The Prophet Muhammad said in his final sermon that no Arab is better than a non-Arab, no white is better than a black except by piety. That truth hits deep, especially in a time when division seems to be the norm. People are drawn to the fairness in Islamic law, the compassion in Islamic charity, the accountability in Islamic morals. It's a complete system that uplifts the oppressed, calls out the wrongdoer, and invites everyone to rise above the ego. And like Jim Rohn taught, when something works, when it produces real results, people take notice. That's why Islam is spreading, because it works. It heals, it lifts, it delivers justice with wisdom. And that's a light the world is searching for. Jim Rohn used to say, "Let others lead small lives, but not you. Let others argue over small things, but not you." And that's exactly what's happening when people in the West open their hearts to Islam. They're no longer satisfied with small talk, small goals, or shallow beliefs. They're searching for something vast, something eternal. And that search often leads them to the Quran, a book that doesn't just speak to you, it speaks through you. It answers the questions you didn't know you had. It heals wounds you couldn't put into words. And then they discover the life of Prophet Muhammad, a man of truth, mercy, humility, a man who lost, who loved, who led, who forgave. His example is so real, so raw, so reachable, and yet profoundly divine. Western seekers see this, and something stirs deep inside. They realize Islam isn't just about believing, it's about becoming. Becoming disciplined, becoming honest, becoming spiritually awake. It doesn't demand perfection, it invites progress. Just like Jim Rohn taught us, don't wish for easy, wish for the strength to rise. That's what the Quran offers, that's what the Prophet's life teaches. And that's why hearts in the West are opening wide. It's so bad to lie. It's horrible. Whoa. So why is Islam spreading so rapidly in the West? Because in a world full of noise, confusion, and fleeting pleasures, people are longing for truth, not trends. They're searching for depth, not distractions. And Islam, with its timeless wisdom, unwavering clarity, and powerful sense of purpose, is offering exactly that. It's not forcing hearts to open. It's awakening hearts that were already ready. Just like Jim Rohn taught, when the promise is clear, the price is easy. And people are realizing the promise of Islam is peace. Not just in this life, but in the life to come. They see the discipline, the community, the justice, the spiritual beauty, and they're not just impressed. They're transformed. So whether you're watching this out of curiosity or conviction, remember this: when the heart hears truth, it can't unhear it. And sometimes what starts as a question becomes the beginning of a lifelong journey. Thank you for watching, and may your journey be one of clarity, growth, and purpose. Jim Rohn once said, you must constantly ask yourself these questions. Who am I around? What are they doing to me? And in today's world, many in the West are waking up to the effects of their surroundings. The materialism, the endless distractions, the lack of spiritual grounding. They're starting to feel the emptiness that success without purpose brings. And that's why more people are opening their eyes to Islam. Not out of rebellion, but out of reflection. They're not running away from something, they're running toward meaning. And one of the most beautiful things people are discovering is how Islam doesn't just touch the intellect, it reaches the heart. It gives clarity in a world drowning in confusion. It provides structure in a society that often promotes chaos in the name of freedom. It invites people to live intentionally, to slow down, to reconnect with their soul and with their Creator. And this message, simple, strong, and sincere, is what's breaking through the noise. There's a discipline to Islam that resonates with those tired of floating aimlessly. 5 prayers a day bring rhythm. Fasting builds resilience. Charity teaches compassion. These are not just spiritual acts. They are tools of personal development. And in the words of Jim Rohn, success is something you attract by the person you become. Then there's the community. In a society where loneliness has become an epidemic, people are craving connection. Islam offers that real brotherhood and sisterhood across races, across borders, across all barriers. It reminds us we're not alone. It reminds us we're one. And when people experience this unity, something inside them heals. Justice, too, is a key magnet. Many in the West are disillusioned with inequality and double standards. Islam's message of fairness, accountability, and respect for all speaks directly to the soul. It's not a system designed to benefit the powerful. It's a way of life meant to uplift the sincere. That's a message the world is hungry for. And above all, it's the Quran and the Prophet's example that seal the heart. People read, they reflect, and they recognize the truth, not because of emotional hype, but because of divine alignment. As Jim Rohn taught, truth doesn't shout, it speaks. And when it speaks, those ready to grow will listen. So if you're wondering why Islam is growing, it's not because of campaigns or marketing, it's because the soul knows when it's home. And when that moment comes, when someone meets truth, their life is never the same. Jim Rohn once said, the major key to your better future is you. This rings true for so many people in the West who are searching for something more than just temporary satisfaction. In a world driven by external achievements and constant distractions, many are realizing that true fulfillment doesn't come from what you own or what you achieve, it comes from who you are. And in this quest for authenticity, for meaning, for a higher purpose, they are discovering Islam. What makes Islam so compelling is its holistic approach to life. It's not just a religion. It's a complete system of living. It addresses every aspect of life, from spiritual growth to personal development, from community building to social justice. It doesn't ask you to escape from the world, but to engage with it, to shape it with discipline, integrity, and compassion. Islam teaches balance, how to live with purpose without falling into excess or neglect. It offers guidance on how to deal with struggles, how to approach success, and how to build a life that matters. In the same way Jim Rohn would encourage us to take personal responsibility and seek growth in every area of life, Islam calls on its followers to constantly strive for self-improvement, not just in their material lives, but in their character. The idea of personal transformation is deeply embedded in Islamic teachings. Prayer, fasting, charity, and other pillars are not just rituals. They are tools for internal growth, for discipline, for connecting with something higher than one's self. And then there's the sense of community. Jim Rohn knew that we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Islam builds a community that holds you accountable, that lifts you up, that reminds you of your higher purpose. In a world where individualism reigns and isolation has become common, Islam offers a sense of belonging that transcends borders, cultures, and backgrounds. Moreover, Islam's call for justice, fairness, and equality resonates with many who are disillusioned by the systems around them. It provides a framework for addressing societal issues with integrity, empathy, and respect for human dignity. When people encounter this message, they see a faith that doesn't just speak about justice, but actively promotes it through its teachings and practices. Finally, the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad offer a model of excellence, wisdom, and compassion that speaks to the heart. His life serves as a guide for how to deal with adversity, how to treat others with kindness, and how to maintain integrity in all circumstances. For many in the West, the simplicity, beauty, and depth of his character are both inspiring and transformative. Islam's rapid growth in the West isn't a trend or a phase. It's a movement toward truth, peace, and personal transformation. People are finding in Islam not just a faith, but a comprehensive way to live better, to connect deeper, and to contribute more meaningfully to the world.